Hey, supply chainers, wherever you are in the world, this is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey with you today. Are you ready? Let's talk supply chain. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Thoughts and Coffee. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I am the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, as well as the Blended podcast, and now our nonprofit, the Blended Pledge, which I'll be talking about in just a minute. And we couldn't have this show without our sponsors. Now, you just heard from Fastenal and how they are helping you within your supply chains. And now Emerge is proud to partner with Thoughts and Coffee to elevate our combined focus on empowering and growing meaningful relationships in the freight industry. The first and only freight-specific RFP platform, Emerge is reinventing freight procurement by offering solutions that enhance the spot and contract procurement process, enabling shippers to make the most strategic decisions possible, saving invaluable time and enhancing productivity. Learn more at emergemarket.com/thoughts and coffee. All right, and now we have a super fun episode for you. I don't know if you checked out the title of this specific Thoughts and Coffee, but it talks about how ketchup is going paper. Now, I have a huge question for you about that because paper straws are kind of the bane of my existence. And so I don't know how this paper ketchup thing is going to work, but we are going to talk about that. And Audrey Ross is with me today as my guest to be talking about those hot topics. But first, let's talk about what's happening at Let's Talk Supply Chain. So, it is the beginning of another month. And of course, we always highlight a woman in supply chain on the podcast. And so this month's woman in supply chain is Amani Radman. And she is talking all about her journey to the United States, what that's looked like for her. She worked in so many different corporate retail positions and now runs her own business out of Minnesota, all about community. And you do not want to miss this episode because it's inspiring and you can learn so much about her journey. So definitely go and check that out wherever you subscribe to the Let's Talk Supply Chain podcast. You also want to go to letstalksupplychain.com. It's episode 275, wherever you listen to the show. What else is happening? We've got Blended. So Blended is not only a podcast, so we've got the Blended podcast, but we also have the nonprofit, the Blended Pledge, where we are giving away grants to diverse voices so that they can say yes to speaking engagements because those grants will cover their travel expenses. Now, I want to let you know that the applications are open. So if you know somebody that has the opportunity to speak, or maybe an events organizer that wants to expand who they're asking to speak, who they have on their stages, the applications are open. So definitely head over to Blended on LinkedIn and then send the application to them. Let everybody know because we want to see more diverse voices on industry stages. Now, I don't know if you guys checked this out yet, but Brian Glick from Chain.io and I were on LogTech Live. So Eric was on vacation last week in Thailand, and so Brian and I took it over, and we had a really great time, and you can see it just in the corner right here. If you miss any of our live shows, you can see here we've got First Things First with Mercado, DC No Bull Shipping, LogTech Live. We've even got Thoughts and Coffee on here. So if you miss any of our live shows, including this one, head over to Let's Talk Supply Chain YouTube so that you can catch up on all of our live shows. What else is happening? I think that's about it. And I think it's time to bring Audrey up onto stage. Hello, Audrey. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good, good. Oh, I had one more thing that I wanted to say right before
Go
I
for it.
introduce you. Let me put this up on screen. So I was talking to Ellen Void. She is the founder of Women in Trucking. I don't know if you've heard about Women in Trucking. Pretty big organization doing a lot of great things for women in trucking. And one of the things that they're doing right now is a Girl Scout patch program. And so, Audrey, this is probably something like right up your alley because I know that you
Yeah.
run some Girl Guides and things like that. And so I wanted to let you know because she was telling me that they had a patch for the boys in logistics or supply chain or something like that, but they didn't
Yeah.
have anything for the girls. And so they went to bat and to make sure that they had a Girl Scout patch for logistics. And I thought that this was awesome. The other thing that they have is a Claire doll. So they actually encourage young girls to look at the trucking industry as they get older. What do you think about this?
I love it. I love
Right?
it.
I
Anything,
know.
yeah. I definitely some of my guides are super into the badges and patches. And so there's lots of opportunities there for them to kind of learn about new things. So we have a lot of badges around STEM and hey, we have a lot of badges around STEM and science and engineering, but yeah, we don't have a lot around logistics. We used to have one of my favorite badges was the aeronautics badge, where we got to learn about airplanes, and we actually went to a location in Brampton and got to see women pilots showing us their airplane skills. But
That's
yeah,
awesome. I
yeah,
love it.
everything the Girl Scouts are doing, like they've got their cookie thing. I think that's what they're known for, but we can't forget their sort of purpose of expanding the horizons of girls and
I know, and I love their advocacy. If you guys have not gone to check them out, go and check them out now. So introduce yourself. Let everybody know who you are and what you do.
so I'm a Girl Guide leader here in Canada. We call it Girl Guides. But I'm Audrey Ross. I'm here in Toronto, Ontario. I'm the import and export compliance manager at Orchard Custom Beauty, which is an award-winning business-to-business private labeling company specializing in beauty tools, cosmetics, and bath accessories. So yeah, let's
Love that. Well,
keep busy.
I want to say hi to some people over on my
Uh,
personal LinkedIn. So we've got Fritz, who is talking about Tetra Packs for ketchup. Well, you just wait because we are going to get into that subject very, very, very soon. Jennifer, David, Harshita, Jennifer, and Kevin. Good morning, and thank you so much for joining us. We've also got Michael Caddio and Davin. If you want to be featured on this episode, make sure to comment. We want to hear from you, and we want to hear your questions. We want to hear your thoughts on some of the articles that we're talking about. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about something that I heard on the news the other day. So we've been talking all about shortages, right, on Thoughts and Coffee and what shortages are coming up and what that actually means for you. So one of them is mustard, which I did not see coming at all. But apparently there's a shortage of mustard. And then the news actually said that Canada is the biggest producer of mustard, which I
yeah.
was then very shocked about again because I had no idea.
What do you
But
think they do, like from like Toronto over?
I'm not entirely sure. But like the whole fact that we were the biggest producer of mustard was
Uh,
very shocking for me.
we're also the biggest producer of like ginkgo biloba or something, and we have like this huge export market to Asia on a couple of things like ginkgo biloba, or maybe it's ginseng. Yeah, and then of course there's the mustard seed canola. Canola is a big one in
Where
the
do they
news right
make
now in
mustard?
Toronto.
Can you please tell me where do they make mustard in Canada?
It's a crop. It grows like a crop. Grows like canola seed, or it grows
Is it
like corn. I
specialty?
don't know. Yeah, Saskatchewan,
Okay.
maybe Alberta.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
you learn something new every day. And apparently, Canada is the biggest producer of mustard, and we have a mustard shortage. I'm not entirely sure why, because I did not hear the whole story. I was very focused on the fact that we had a shortage of mustard and that Canada was the biggest producer.
Yeah.
Anyways, my
The
bad.
key
I will
points,
have
and
to
then you
look
just
into
left
this
it.
a little bit more for next time. All right, so let's talk a little bit about our poll. So the poll
Oh,
of the week, we ask you guys a question every single Wednesday morning across the Let's Talk Supply Chain social media. And so this week's question was, have you read any good books lately? So we had 44% saying, I need recommendations. So AJ, can you post the link to this poll in the comments so everybody can go and make some recommendations? We had like 43 comments or something like that, which was something crazy. 41% of you said yes, and they shared below. 15% said nothing good yet. So the comments are crazy. We've got comments coming in from all sorts of places. Audrey, I know you responded to this. Oh, that was my That was my watch. Anyways, I know you responded to this. What did you
Yeah.
have to say about the book?
Oh, yeah. Well, I read a lot, and I think I dropped a few recommendations in there because I had taken a pause from reading in the spring. I don't know. I was just busy and distracted, and then I've gotten right back into it. So I'm reading "Son of Elsewhere" by Alamin, who's like a Toronto kid who kind of has just published his first book, but he's super popular media, you know, podcasts and stuff. So that's been really good. I'm about halfway through that. And then there were some, there's been some, it's Mariana Marcuzzo has the Mission Economy book. If you're looking for like a nonfiction, around, more economics or business. So I thought that it was great. And then I went through the comments and I started going through the comments and like writing down what everybody else is reading.
You have a longer
Um,
list.
Oh, I have a much, yeah, and I can't say that I had a short list already. I have a long list, so I love reading.
So I cannot read like business books or self-help books from an actual book. I have to listen to it.
Okay, you have
So
to
I listen to
listen.
it
Yeah,
on Audible. And so right now I'm listening to The Psychology of Money, which is actually a very, very, very good book. It comes up with all sorts of different things. It was actually one of the things that I wrote about in the monthly hustle for, I think it was
and last
June.
month. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think.
it was last month, talking about luck,
Yeah,
and how big that actually plays within your life and what that actually means and all that kind of stuff. So if you haven't
yeah,
checked out the monthly hustle, go and check it out for last month because definitely talked about that. But that is a really good book to check out. Mike Bush says Arriving Today by Christopher Mims says it was a great reminder of the
yeah,
complexity of international shipping, especially as we come into another peak season. Naomi said The School for Good Mothers. She
yeah.
actually
That
was
was
just
fun.
a guest on Blended as well. And that Blended episode isn't coming out till August, but she spoke about this book as well. Felipe said Imperfect Leadership. Carrie Jean, The Giver of Stars by Jojo Moyes.
Yeah,
I'm actually looking at Jane Elliott. I was looking at her book, something about the brown eyes, blue eyes test or something like
yeah,
that. I
yeah,
don't know if
yeah.
you've heard of that, but
Oh, yeah, we did it in
um,
school. Yeah,
did you? Because I
yeah.
didn't read that book in school.
Oh, my teacher did the experiment, the premise of it in school, and it was impactful.
Oh, really?
It was
Okay.
impactful.
Because I've
Yeah,
been
it's
looking at
it's
getting
huge.
that
Yeah,
book, so I think I'm gonna
yeah,
go ahead and and do that. Anyways, we had a lot of really, really great suggestions, and just want to thank everybody. Definitely go and check that post out because, like I said, 43 comments, and Audrey has a list that's going to take her into the end of 2023. So definitely something to check out. The other thing that I wanted to show you guys is one of our latest TikTok videos. So Carrie Jean works for me and she knows nothing about supply chain. So she did this TikTok and you can't hear it right now, but it's like all in gibberish. And she's like, you're learning supply chain for the first time, and it's like so it's kind of like how you actually learn about supply chain in the first couple of conversations because we have so many acronyms and things like that. So if you haven't checked this out, go and check this particular post out. I thought it was pretty funny because I have a lot of people that come to me and they're like, "We have so many acronyms in supply chain and I don't know where to start." And I'm like, "Well, first of all, we have a supply chain dictionary that might help you. And
yeah,
second of all, we did this TikTok post because you're not alone."
yeah. It's a big topic. There's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. I think the other thing that we want to talk about is what's happening with upcoming events. So we just did a survey, and there was a couple of people that were talking about upcoming events and how I talk about them at the beginning of Thoughts and Coffee. So I'm trying something a little bit new, and we're talking about them in the middle because Audrey, I want to hear what events you are looking forward to going to. So of
Okay.
course, we've got Imagine coming up September 6th through 8th. That's with Laura Ciceri, and that's in Washington. I'm going to be live in Washington, but I'm going to be hosting all of their digital events for that. So definitely go and check that out. We are also going to be at Home Delivery World. We're going to be on the expo floor, and we're going to be recording podcasts on the floor. So I don't know if we're going to be seeing you, but that's in
Yeah.
Philadelphia, August 31st. And that's going to be a really, really, really great event. Of course, we've got Manifest coming up in January. And then we've got our live shows. So Action Items with DC Shvagola. LogTech Live happens twice a month now. We've got Intelligent Automation Week in Chicago at the end of July. No Bullshipping with Hope White. And we've got Procurement Foundry. So I am going to be recording live at this event November 2nd through 3rd. Michael Cadio is here in the audience, and he's putting together this amazing event. And I'm actually going to meet a lot of people live in person for the very first time at this particular event. So really, really looking forward to that. And then, of course, we've got First Things First with Mercado as well.
I like that show.
So what kind of events there kind of pique your interest?
Well, I mean, Imagine is sort of, it seems like it's sort of, it's like an exclusive audience. It's not a large show. It's sort of very focused. Yeah, it's very so that one, of course, it's very intriguing. And of course, Laura Ciceri is such a notable figure in our industry. And then of course it's nice, you've seen stuff like the Home Show and the Intelligent Show coming back. I think it'll be great for people who really enjoyed those shows to kind of get back to them. And then of course Procurement Foundry, taking it live in Vegas. I think that's one too where it's we know so many people. It's such a great community, and so many people from online that it is going to be such an event to meet people in real life, in person.
Are there any events that you're looking to are you going to be attending any in Q3, Q4?
Right now I'm a little focused with my Organization of Women in Trade. I'm looking at going to the WTO forum at the end of September. So that's more on sort of trade policy, less sort of supply chain and logistics. So I'm a little focused on that one, because it's sort of a big trip. I haven't been to Europe since I was a teenager. But otherwise Manifest, you had such a good time, and it was such a great crowd. So Manifest in Vegas or Procurement Foundry in Vegas, you're kind of will I end up there? And I think, it's, I don't know. I don't want to leave it to the last minute, but I'm kind of how much FOMO am I going to have when everyone's there and I'm not?
Everybody wants to see you. Everybody wants to meet you anyways. So we definitely need to see you at those events. All right, now it's time to get to our articles. We're a little bit over time, but that's okay, because our first article is about Samsung. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen this. It's something that I talked about on LogTech Live with Brian. It's something that you and I talked about on Thoughts and Coffee, about how inventory is in abundance. And the retailers are kind of I don't know what to do with myself. So Samsung has actually asked their suppliers to delay or reduce shipments, and they're slashing it by 50%, which is really interesting because the month previous, they had told their suppliers that they had a healthy view of 2022. So that really happened within pretty much 30 days, which is a crazy kind of turnaround from, everything's healthy to no, let's slash and reduce our shipments by 50%, which is crazy, crazy, crazy. And it's not just because of the microchips. It's because of the amount of inventory that they have in stock, and also electronic parts that they're saying that they're having a hard time getting, but also they're reviewing their inventory levels for TV, appliances, and smartphones. What do you think about this, Audrey?
I think a lot of companies are kind of sitting down and looking at the numbers and looking at their inventory and what people are buying, and
I know.
We should. We'll do a little charter. Do a little PF charter. I think it's interesting because it's really playing out in the news too. People are really, I guess a lot of these are public companies and they sort of have to report a lot of these things. But it seems kind of interesting that it's from last month, it's we're good to, now we're off the cliff, and you're really?
What is happening?
What is going on?
Kind of the life of the supply chain professional.
And I still maintain that, if you're not talking to your customers about what they want to buy, then you're just making a bunch of stuff that's going to sit on shelves. But they keep doing it. So here we are.
Absolutely. Jennifer over on my personal LinkedIn says, where is Procurement Foundry in November? It's in Las Vegas. Yes. So we're all going to be, so the Procurement Foundry community is going to descend on Vegas at the beginning of November. Watch out, Vegas.
They don't know what's coming.
Yeah, they have no idea. Anyways, now for the pièce de résistance
Oh, your favorite one.
is our article about how Kraft is testing paper-based ketchup bottles. I have a few things to say about this. I think it's great, right? We talk about sustainability, we talk about the things that we need to do in order to be able to reduce waste. I get it. How many of you, and I'm asking the audience and I want you all to answer, how many of you like the new paper straws that are coming out from all of these retailers? Because I'm not a big fan. I don't like the plastic ones, don't get me wrong. I do use the steel ones, the
Metal,
kind of
yeah, the stainless
metal
steel.
ones as much as I possibly can, and so I'll bring
Yeah.
my own if I need to. But the paper ones just get so soggy. And so in my mind, when I see this Kraft Heinz testing paper-based ketchup bottles, I feel like it's going to disintegrate in my refrigerator in
Yeah.
front of my eyes. What do you think about this? I have more to
I
say, but
mean,
I will refrain for a moment.
personal tidbit, I'm the kind of person who, like how people hear nails on a chalkboard and like they have a physical reaction. I'm like that with wet paper. So the paper straw thing is like, it's like I'm literally like I physically have, like, if you look at me, like, it's sad. I'm just like, I can't. And so this is not, I'm not loving, this. But also is the, you kind of look into the article and you're like, okay, so now we're not making single use plastics, we're making single use paper. How many trees do we have to use that we weren't using before to supplement this? So I think there's, and the whole recycling thing, they're like, now it's recyclable. You're like, well, does my municipality actually recycle this product? Since most municipalities, like, or local areas, don't recycle when there's been food product on the item. Like, you have to rinse out your plastic, rinse out your, so how are you going to rinse this out? Like, is your municipality actually, like, it's like, oh, you can recycle this, and it's all these businesses, you can recycle this. And they go to the local community and you're like, okay, well, Toronto's a pretty big city. Maybe we can manage it. But you're like, can Milton, like tiny, I don't know, Murfreesboro, Tennessee, like, it's, I don't know.
So
I
this
have
is
questions.
kind of my point, right?
Concerns. There's concerns.
How long will the product last within this packaging?
They'll
So I have
test that. They're going to try that.
questions about this
Yeah.
article that I really hope somebody
Stability,
answers.
compatibility. Okay. There's testing. Yeah.
So how long will the product last, first of all? Because really, I mean, it's paper,
Yeah.
right? So I have a feeling that it's going to go bad a lot quicker. And so you're going to have waste in that potential. Then you're right. When you recycle, you really can't have anything to do with food products on the recyclable material. Otherwise, it just goes in the garbage anyways. And so that was my biggest question is how are we going to make sure that there is no ketchup on this paper bottle? Because the glass bottle is pretty easy, right? To get everything out of. There was also there was a product a couple years ago called the Spatty. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it helps get like the access stuff out of plastic bottles. So maybe we should just invest in that so that there's no waste and you can just clean the glass bottle. And then the glass bottle can be recycled. This is what I don't understand. Why are we going to paper versus glass? Because the glass can be recycled and maybe reused as well, right?
And it's still single use. It's still single use. I think that's the bigger issue that, like, no one's picking up on. You're like, plastic, it's single use, right? If you use the plastic more than one time, then it's not as bad. But we tend to, like, oh, I use it, I throw it out. And I think the same with this ketchup bottle. It's like you use it and you potentially recycle it, ignoring all of the recycling issues and situation at hand.
Okay.
But it's single use. You're like, when is the refillable ketchup coming?
And then how does this have to do with supply chain? Well, how sturdy is this bottle, right? In actually transporting the goods in the paper-based bottle. And what does it do in temperature?
Yeah.
Is my other question. So really the packaging, if you think about it, packaging has a really, really big influence on supply chain and what you're doing from, transporting the product to delivering the product either into stores or into people's homes. And the packaging really has a big component to this.
Yeah.
because there's a lot of variables that the logistics professional or your supply chain team has to think about when you're changing this. So my other question is, how is this affecting your supply chain, and how is your supply chain team sort of dealing with this, and what does it mean for them?
And when a
Because
box gets smushed, it's going to look like a murder scene.
oh, yes. Okay, okay. We haven't even thought about damage. I mean, if these things get damaged or a forklift goes through, I mean, how thick is this? Okay. So
Yeah.
we've talked about this. We have questions. We hope that Craft or maybe Supply Chain Dive can really
I like
answer
that
some
they
of these
get
questions.
excited, and I like that there's a company that is working on this paper packaging. It's all good. It's just sometimes you're like, I feel like you're a little too excited and ignoring like just a myriad of potential
Well,
concerns.
and supply chain professionals and community just want to know. We have
Yeah.
questions. And so in order for us to be able to do that within our supply chains, we really want to
Yeah.
dive into this and figure out how it's going to work for everybody.
Yeah.
Because like you
Send me
said,
your compatibility reports and your what is it, the Koenig and vibration testing that you do on packaging, and then we'll see.
okay, so we've got questions. Hopefully, somebody can answer that for us. Send me an email so I can share it with the community on Thoughts and Coffee.
Uh,
But it's some of the stats in this article. Go and read the article because
yeah.
they're talking about Coca-Cola, Pepsi, Unilever, all doing some of the same things. And they're also talking about 54% of people are actually taking recyclable packaging into account when they buy, which
Yeah.
is a really odd number. I'm not entirely sure if that is the case because that's really, really high.
Yeah.
And it's not something that I'm hearing about a lot. So that number, I would kind of wonder where they get that stat. Anyways, our last article, because we're coming down to the last 4 minutes of Thoughts and Coffee, and you always know that I want to end on time so that you guys can get on with your day. So the last article is about the West Coast port strike and how it's going to disrupt supply chains. Yes, another disruption. So apparently, the contract, according to Audrey, this is everything Audrey told me this morning. The contract ends on July or ended on July 1st, and now they're in talks. Because I said to her, I'm like, I
Well,
can't find
they've been in
anything about
talks.
this.
Yeah, they've been in talks. You have to know the right people to follow, but they've
Okay,
been in talks, and it's not as of today. It doesn't seem to be resolved or any sort of details settled.
so give us the update, Audrey. We're all wondering.
Yeah, I think nice, David. I think yeah, it's sort of still in. There's still potential for disruption. July 1st basically ended a situation where, um, like the labor contract expires July 1st, and with it they had a no strike clause. So negotiations are continuing, but there's no resolve. So potentially they could strike, potentially they could do work actions, sort of until this gets settled. And I think that one of the key issues that we've heard about, obviously there's a lot of labor issues coming out on the other side of the pandemic, with labor shortages, skill issues, working conditions. One of the key topics, though, usually mentioned around this situation is the automation piece, where a lot of the West Coast
Right.
ports are not as automated as ports in other places in the world, or even on the West Coast, like in Vancouver, Prince Rupert. So that's a hot issue. But
Absolutely.
we're all planning around it. I think some may be better than others. I have not diverted anything. Not that I have a ton of stuff right now that's going to the U.S. market, but I did not divert. So I'm just sort of gonna see what happens with my stuff that's coming in over the next couple of weeks, and maybe that's I was a bit optimistic about the situation because I think most people are very focused on not disrupting the supply chain any further, beyond sort of the natural disasters that we've been having, or the sort of really uncontrollable things. I think this is viewed as sort of a controllable situation in that people are agreeing and negotiating and compromising, to keep everything moving. So
Well, and I think it's been a hard couple of years. It's been a hard couple of years for a lot of different people. And I think, this we talked about this 6 months ago and that it was going to have an impact because of everything that everybody's sort of been going through. And, with the politics entering sort of logistics and supply chain, and how that's going to
Yeah.
affect some of these talks and what they're actually going to be looking for, and that
Yeah.
they actually deserve it. So we're going to see how these talks are going to go. We're going to keep on top of that for you, and we will let you know. Nike was part of this article,
Yeah,
actually. If you
it's
go and
good.
check that out, they talked about how they are solving supply chain with creative solutions. And so their creative solutions are technology and routing,
Yeah.
which I thought was kind of interesting. And then again, it mentions, because I mentioned a couple months ago about Costco actually leasing 7 cargo vessels over the next 3 years. So they are actually predicting 3 years out that we're still going to be seeing some disruptions, and they want to take back control of their supply chain. So, anyways,
It's a
thank
good one.
you all for joining us this morning. Next week, Jonathan Kempe of Let's Talk Supply Chain Asia Pac is going to be here with me, and we've got a huge announcement. So you're going to want to stay tuned. Audrey is going to be on
Ooh.
vacation, and we hope you all have a great week ahead. Thanks for joining me today,
Yeah.
Audrey.
Thank you. See you, everyone.